This is the story of Little Red Riding Hood by Charlotte Banks, age 5. Once there was a little girl who lived with her mother in a house at the edge of the forest. The little girl always wore a red cloak and hood that grandmother had made for her. That's why everyone had even her mother called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother said to her, "Grandmother is not feeling well. I have packed a basket with fruit, cakes and honey. Will you take it to her?" "Yes, Mother. Be careful going through the forest and don't play around along the way. Grandmother is waiting for you." "Yes, Mother." Little Red Riding Hood took the basket and was on her way to Grandmother's house. Little Red Riding Hood had gone but a short way into the forest when a great wolf stepped out from behind a tree. "Good morning, Little Red Riding Hood." "Good morning, Little Red Riding Hood. Where are you going on this fine day?" "I am going to see Grandmother on the other side of the forest. She is ill and I am bringing her fruit, cakes and honey." "Why not bring her some wild flowers as well? There are so many to pick from here in the forest." "I cannot stop. Mother said I must not play around along the way." "Picking flowers is not playing around. Besides, a bunch of pretty flowers will cheer your grandmother up and make her feel better." "Perhaps you are right." Little Red Riding Hood put down her basket and began to pick wild flowers. Meanwhile, the wolf slipped away and sped to the other side of the forest. When he came to Grandmother's cottage, he crept up to the door and knocked. "Who is it?" "It is I, Little Red Riding Hood. I have brought your fruit, cakes and honey." "Come in, dear. The door is open." As soon as the wolf was inside, he ran over to the bed and gobbled up Grandmother whole, leaving only her blanket and nightcap. He put on the nightcap and wrapped himself in the blanket. Then he crawled into bed to wait for Little Red Riding Hood. Before long, there was a knock at the door. "Who is it?" "It is I, Little Red Riding Hood. I have brought your fruit, cakes and honey, and a bunch of pretty wild flowers to cheer you." "Come in, the door is open." Little Red Riding Hood went in and stood for a moment in the doorway. "Oh, Grandmother, what big ears you have! The better to hear you with, my dear. Come closer." Little Red Riding Hood walked closer to bed. better to see you with, my dear. Come closer. Oh, Grandmother. Little Red Riding Hood walked even closer to the bed. Oh, Grandmother, what big teeth you have. They're better to eat you with. The wolf grabbed Little Red Riding Hood and gobbled her up whole. Then, feeling full and satisfied, the wolf lay down and fell asleep. Now it happened that the woodcutter was passing Grandmother's cottage. Just then he knew the old woman had been feeling poorly. Then he decided to look in on her. When he saw the wolf snoring on the bed, he knew at once what had happened. I have you at last, you devil. The woodcutter slew the wolf with his axe. Then the woodcutter took a carving knife and very carefully he slit up the wolf's belly. Out popped Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother, safe and whole, just as the wolf had swallowed them. Oh, Grandmother, how happy I am to see you. And I am happy to see you, child. Grandmother gave Little Red Riding Hood a hug. Then Little Red Riding Hood, Grandmother and the woodcutter sat down to feast on fruit, cakes and honey. They all lived happily from that day on, never to be troubled by the wicked wolf again. The